start with the Activity Maker template, and we'll call our project Planets. And as usual, the Activity Maker template will now generate a project that will be in the LodeStar Projects folder. And once the progress bar is finished, the project will open up with our editor. So let's start with just putting in a simple SVG. We will just have a little fun with our title page. We'll call it Planets. I'll go ahead and enlarge that. So this is the SVG Scalable Vector Graphics Editor. And we'll go ahead and make this sans serif. And I'll fit the content. It's important that once you create a scalable vector graphic that you fit the content so that we're basically trimming away the rest of the canvas, and then we save the page. And then the second important thing is don't leave this at a fixed width and height. So this is 648 pixels width. Rather, choose a percentage so that this particular project becomes responsive. It'll work well in other devices, desktop devices, smartphones, etc. Now, this is page 1 of 1. We have our title. I'll go ahead and I can even give this page an ID. I'll hit the plus, and that'll give us a new page. And then on this page, we'll create our matching exercise. We'll just call our page ID matching. And then let's put in a bit of an instruction here. We'll type in match the planet to the image. So we'll have 3 planets, 3 images of planets, and we're asking the student to match the text to the image. Now we're in our HTML editor. Again, we're on page 2 of 2. We're going to click on this little sprocket. Those are our widgets. We have a variety of widgets, multiple choice, short answer, an image slider, many different types. We're going to choose the matching. Now what I'll do is select my imagery. So let's start off with Mars. And what I'll do is give students a hint, but more importantly, ensure that this particular matching exercise is accessible to students with, visual disabilities. This will be the choice text. This will be in a fixed position related to the image. And this will be the draggable text, the matching text. I'll go and use the little plus sign. This is similar to all widgets. All widgets have this particular interface. Plus sign gives me a new page, and I'm now able to bring in a second image. This will be Mercury. And for Mercury, provide a clue. I'll call this the gray planet. Next, I'll bring in Venus. And Venus, interestingly, according to the Jet Propulsion Lab, is a brown-yellow planet. I'll type in Venus here for the matching text. The next thing I'll do is give a point value. So if you let's say you got 2 out of 3 right, it'll give you a percentage of 10. So 10 is the total number of points that one can earn. Now we have a whole number of choices that we can make here. We can I'll put all of this against a greenish background. My layout will be rows, so this will be stretched out across a row. Everything flex start means it'll be huddled to the left. I like space between. And then, so no wrap. Well, if we get into a tight spot, if we tend to use an image that's a little larger, we do want it to wrap so that it'll behave nicely on a smartphone. And I'll bring this down a little bit. The height of the image will be about 150. And so there we have, this is our widget. This is not what it's going to look like to the student. It just serves as a placeholder. But we can't see, for example, Mars, we can't see the text that we drag yet, but we can see these captions, these choice text, and then the images, the color that we chose. Now, if we go ahead and preview this in the browser, we'll get our first title page, and then we'll see what this looks like. So this is rather plain. Here's our SVG, and then we have our instructions. And then we have, now I don't particularly like this. This is too spread out, but we can go ahead and I'll do this correctly this time. And I'll submit it. If I wanted to reset, if I wanted to try that again, I can. Okay, so that was the correct. You can see how this is laid out. And then of course I'll submit, and you can see that I've gotten all of these correct. But I think I want to make some changes. So for example, space between, I should have chosen space around. I think I'll like that a lot better. And that brings the images, that provides some space, a nice even spacing around everything. And if we preview it, I think you'll agree that it'll look a little bit better. That text won't be so spaced out, just nicely spaced. You can see that. Now, there are some additional things that I'd like to do. So let's add a couple of additional things. We have our maximum number of points is 10. By the way I'm editing this widget, like any other widget, is I'm just simply clicking on the widget and I'm then able to edit. What I would like to do is add a page and then change that page type to a report page so that we can see what happens when we get a partial answer. So these are all in alphabetical order. So that's our report page. We don't need to do anything more with that page. I would like to make a couple of additional adjustments. In my layouts, I want to bring in a background image, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I went to my layout manager, selected a background image, and we'll see what that does in a second. So I'll preview, and you can see that we basically have, here's our background image, and then here is our activity, but I can improve on that. What I'll do is go to Tools and Themes, and for my inner background color, and I'll bring that down to about 60%. Okay. This green color, I'll change the opacity of this a little bit as well. Let's bring that down to about 80. So what I'm doing, and you'll see the effect right now. I have my background. There's my background. And then here you can see the page kind of bleeds through a little bit, or excuse me, the background bleeds through the page. And it's a nice effect. And here, you know, I'm doing it to some degree. I'm letting these lines bleed through a little bit. It might be difficult to see this, but it just kind of unifies everything, brings things together, gives them some visual appeal. This time, what I'm going to do is what I'll do is maybe answer a couple correctly. So, by the way, these are all randomized. So these are always in a random order. So I'll answer 2 of these things, but forget to answer 1. I'll go ahead and submit. So you can see here I've omitted 1, so that's not counted correctly. But I'll get partial credit for answering the first and third correctly. And you can see that reflected here. I got partial credit. Lastly, I'll refresh. I want to point out a very, very important feature. As you recall, what we did is we provided some choice text, but the choice text also allowed us to contribute to the accessibility of this particular matching exercise. You know, so for example, if I tab, so if I use keyboard only and tab, and then use my arrow key. So I tabbed to a draggable item. I hit the space bar, and that's pretty consistent with accessible matching exercises. The space bar brings up this pop-up menu, and then with the arrow key, I'm able to make my choice. So this is Mercury, and Mercury is the gray planet. So I'll hit enter, and that'll go into the right spot. I'll tab, hit the space bar. Venus is that brown yellow planet. And then once again, I'll tab, space bar, use my arrow key. Once I use my arrow key, that pop-up menu, the screen scrolls to that pop-up menu. So Mars is the red planet. Okay, I'll tab to my submit, and now there's no indication. There's no indication to a blind student, for example, that you know, they got this right. So we're going to have to do just a little bit more work. Let's put this away, and that's where these branch options come in. So again, I clicked on the widget, and for the correct answer, I'm going to provide a little feedback. And this will appear in a pop-up that will be in the impolite mode. So in other words, whatever the screen reader is doing, it's going to then turn its attention to this pop-up and read what's in the pop-up. So I'll go ahead and show that feedback. Well done. And then for the incorrect answer, show feedback. Something like that. Now, you know, I could go through and make my choices, but cut to the chase, I'll go ahead and just quickly drag these things. I'll make a mistake. I'll go ahead and submit. And this is what the blind student would hear, or the visually impaired student would actually hear this dialogue being read out, and then they can hit escape, they can tab, and or it could or the program could actually cause, so if we put this away and they got an incorrect answer, we could then have them jump to a review page after X number of seconds. So all of the branching stuff still applies to this widget, things that you might be accustomed to from other projects. Well, I hope that you'll find this matching widget very useful. Again, you'll find it under the sprockets, and it's right here, matching. Until next time.